Since 1878, we forged talents, industrialized skills, and nurtured minds. We all face challenges, but it is how we come together to overcome them that counts. We work with educators, employers, and governments in over 100 countries to get people into a job, progress in the job, and onto the next job. We are apprenticeships, T-levels, technicals, and traineeships. We are engineering, health and care, and construction. We are aspiration, opportunity, and ambition. We are City and Guilds. No one is better qualified.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Future Skills into Construction workshop. Today we're going to look at the pathways into the sector and how City and Guilds support our centres and providers. Next slide, please. I'd like to introduce you to the construction team. We have Sarah Turner, our Business Development Manager, Jason Howe, our Technical Advisor, and me, Naz Lewis-Humphrey, the Industry Manager for Construction. Next slide, please. To run through the agenda, a few housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, please post them in the Slido and we will have time to answer these at the end. And any questions we don't get round to, we'll endeavour to respond to you directly by email. Next slide. Construction, the market and opportunities. As you are all aware, the construction industry is short on skills and new talent is becoming increasingly hard to recruit. Here we can see the construction sector workforce is ageing, and this has increased over the past 6 years. 6 years ago, we can see 25% of the workforce was over 50. This number has now increased to 30%, and we can see this will only increase further unless we address the shortage of skills and talent. We know education is the key to addressing this and how we attract new talent to the sector. Next slide. Looking forward over the next 3 years, from the Chancellor's announcement last July, post-COVID, government targets around housing are substantially ambitious. We are looking at the UK reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2015. The plan for jobs announces that over 2 billion will be provided to support homeowners and landlords to make homes more efficient, and with funding to support over 100,000 green jobs to achieve this. So what does this mean for education in the industry? Construction is to remain a strong career path for school leavers and upskilling and training for the existing workforce. We can anticipate skill and labour shortages will be affected by Brexit, and the loss of migrant workforce will remain a high concern on the industry agenda. In response to COVID, the sector is guided by the Construction Leadership's Council Roadmap to Recovery over the next 3 to 5 years. We will see a continued government support to boost productivity throughout infrastructure and a focus on greener build and lower carbon emissions. A new task force to oversee this work, Project Speed, construction talent retention schemes with government support. Next slide, please. With an annual spend of around 110 billion per year in construction, contributing to 7% GDP, the sector remains a major industry. Of this, 25% within the public sector and the remainder in the private sector. City and Guilds understands the skills gaps, and recruitment remains areas of concern to meet the immediate and longer term needs. Supporting employers who are investing in training and development to mitigate this. Apprenticeships, which are demand-led, are a key element to the solution. Our recent contracts and tender wins with Qualification Wales, Ministry of Justice and leading on construction T-levels highlights our position and reputation within the industry. No other awarding organisation has the breadth and depth of offer across construction that we do. Next slide, please. In summer 2020, we launched our new look, Collaborative Employer and Industry Board for Construction. The Employer and Industry Board is and will be integral to our future development in T-levels and the construction industry. This board is made up of trusted representatives, they collectively come together regularly to discuss and highlight industry changes and demands that will influence the future training and development of the construction qualifications and assessments. If you'd like more information regarding the Employer and Industry Board or how to get involved, then please do contact me at my email address. Next slide, please. Here you can see the breadth of the experience of our providers on this board, employers, providers and associations which form the whole Employer Industry Board. Next slide, please. As part of our commitment to the sector and to COVID recovery, we have launched the Skills Bridges programme, Step into Construction, funded by Nesta. Next slide. This is an online digital course for individuals with transferable skills displaced by COVID. This is a whistle-stop introduction and a route into the industry, highlighting key pathways and careers into growth sectors, including construction. This course has been created in conjunction with industry, with links and opportunities to talk and engage with employers, to ultimately lead into vacancies and learning opportunities. Next slide. Upon completion of the online course, learners will receive a digital credential showcasing their achievement and an interest in construction, leading individuals to employers with job opportunities. Next slide. In summary, Step into Construction is twofold: an introduction into the construction industry, and it highlights the importance of health and safety, the diversity of the workforce, with a focus on jobs at entry level into crafts and trades, while also highlighting the routes into training and qualifications. The importance of competency, progression into supervisory and seniorship leadership roles, and the possibilities of ultimately running your own business. Next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Naz. So hi everybody, my name's Sarah Turner, and as Naz said, I'm the Business Development Manager for the North West region. I'm also lucky enough to be the sales champion for construction within the sales team. So for the next few slides, I just wanted to talk to you about how we've been supporting our centres, our learners and employers with apprenticeships and endpoint assessment. I think obviously it's obvious to say, but we've all been on a huge journey over the past few years due to the apprenticeship reforms and the introduction of endpoint assessment. At City and Guilds, we've had to completely set up a brand new service and set up as an endpoint assessment organisation. We were lucky to have a little bit of experience in delivering endpoint assessments in the land-based sector, but clearly delivering on this kind of scale across all of the sectors and all of the occupational areas was quite new to us. And as you can see from the stats on the slide, the scale of what we've now delivered in the new world is enormous, really. We've had over 61,000 registrations for endpoint assessment. We've certificated over 21,000 learners with a pass rate of 90% overall. And I think those figures are actually a few months out of date as well, so the figures are even bigger than that now. So apprenticeships at City and Guilds are so important to us. Apprenticeships are our heritage and they're a real key focus for us. They're absolutely vital, obviously, to the UK economy, and they are seen as the best route for setting young people up for their future career success out of all the training options that are currently available to under 25s. We've recently commissioned a couple of interesting pieces of research that you might want to have a look at. Jason's going to pop those into the chat bar for us now. One of those is a brilliant piece of research around making apprenticeships work, and the other is around stamping out the stigma of apprenticeships as well. Next slide, please, Jason. So setting the standard for construction, I think you may have already gathered by now that construction is an absolutely key sector for City and Guilds. We are the recognised brand for employers in this sector with historical credibility in construction and a real breadth and depth of offer across construction as well. Our recent contracts and tender wins with Qualification Wales, the Ministry of Justice, and the on-site construction and building services T-level, I think really highlights our position and reputation in the industry, all of which provide possible progression onto apprenticeships. For full-time learners, we've still got our most of our diploma qualifications still available and funded. We've also got our new Gold Star technical qualifications, and we've got a traineeship offer as well. We have an apprenticeship and EPA offer in all of the main trade areas, including property maintenance operative. So we really do have that full offer available. You know, it feels like so long ago that we started to support our construction centres with the transition from frameworks to standards. We offered lots of free webinars, guides, support from our wonderful technical advisor team, and it's really nice to see the fruition of that support and working together starting to come through. Now a lot of the construction endpoint assessments are taking place. Now, Jason will be talking a bit later on about some of the recent success stories we've seen with endpoint assessment, but I was only talking to one of my centres last week who had their first carpentry and joinery EPA, and they called me afterwards to tell me how fantastic an experience it was for both themselves and their learners, and how our endpoint assessor was really helpful, supportive. He put the learners at ease, and it really made me think, you know, yes, all of that kind of hard work we've all put in over the last few years has been so worth it to hear that kind of feedback. Next slide, please, Jason. So supporting our apprenticeship journey. So this slide is really just to provide an overview of what we've developed to support the apprenticeship journey, to give our learners the best possible chance of success whilst delivering that quality, robust assessment to ensure that learners are absolutely ready for industry. We do have the full end-to-end offer available, starting with our initial assessment tool for English and Maths. We've also got an apprenticeship induction package, which includes content on safeguarding and British values. We've developed quite a lot of on-programme support materials that are mapped to the skills, knowledge and behaviours within the standards. And I know a lot of my centres have really benefited from using those resources because they've helped to provide that structure that has been missing from having no mandatory qualifications within the standard. We've also developed a whole host of EPA support materials, which I'm going to go through with you on the next slides. And then on EPA, I just want to talk to you about our new EPA pricing model. So we've recently launched a new scale pricing model for endpoint assessment, where the price per learner comes down if more than one learner is sitting in assessment on the same day. Essentially, we realised that there were cost savings to be made on scale bookings, and we wanted to pass these savings on to our customers. So we launched that on the 1st of April. Our pricing is on all of our construction endpoint assessment pages on the City and Guilds website. So if you want to have a look at that pricing model, it is there, or obviously give us a call directly. In addition to that, we've actually got a whole range of platforms to support with the delivery of apprenticeship delivery. So we've got our e-functional skills, which is a HODA platform with the City and Guilds content to support achievement of functional skills qualifications. We've also got our learning assistant, which is our e-portfolio, and Get to Gateway, which is an end-to-end off-the-shelf product that is also an e-portfolio. It tracks 20% off the job, but it's got learner content in there as well. If you do want to know more about the products that we've and the platforms we've got available, please visit our expo booth, where you can speak to a representative and arrange a demo. Next slide, please, Jason. So this is just a snapshot of some of those high quality, engaging on-programme resources that we've developed that sit within our SmartScreen platform. SmartScreen is where we house all of our resources. So there's a range of resources on there. We've got our tutor resource packs, which are sort of schemes of work and lesson plans and anything that a tutor might need to help them start, get ready to deliver the programme. With all of those that content, it's available in Word and PowerPoint, so tutors can take it off SmartScreen, they can add their own content to it, they can copy and paste, so it really is a starting point for tutors. What we've also got is our e-learning packages as well. So for carpentry and joinery and brick, we've got some brilliant e-learning packages for learners. And I think that blended learning approach has become more important than ever over the last 13 months. And we've certainly seen a huge increase in the number of users on our SmartScreen site. So just to give you an example, we've had a 250% increase of usage in the first lockdown on our SmartScreen platform. So I think that really demonstrates how that blended approach can work, and it does work in the construction sector as well. Next slide, please, Jason. So we've got a whole range of endpoint assessment support resources. We have our EPA packs, which basically outline what the learner needs to do for endpoint assessment, what the tasks are, what the timing is, the grading information. So all of that is available to any centre. Once a centre registers a learner with us, they do get access to more support resources for endpoint assessment. So things like the sample test, the Lieber report, and I really wanted to mention the Lieber report here because not everybody accesses them, and I think they're such brilliant documents. So the Lieber report is a lead independent endpoint assessor report, and it's a little bit like a chief examiner's report, if you will. So it talks about best practice nationally, where learners might be falling down, top tips, but it's a really, really good document to read and to be accessing. And we tend to publish those every sort of 6 to 12 months for a standard. So it's definitely worth, you know, having a look at those if you've registered learners with us and you haven't accessed them already. We obviously publish our resources and venues lists and exemplar materials as well. Next slide, please, Jason. So when a learner completes their City and Guilds endpoint assessment, we do issue City and Guilds branded paper certificates. And I think we've already talked about, you know, how much currency the City and Guilds brand holds in this sector. But now, in addition to that, we also provide learners with digital credentials, and you'll see what those look like on the right-hand side of the screen for carpentry and joinery. So learners achieve digital credentials free of charge when they've completed an endpoint assessment with City and Guilds, and this is a digital representation of what they've achieved, essentially. And if you could go to the next slide, please, Jason. So learners can use digital credentials in their on their social media sites, on their signature, but there's now a new wallet functionality as well. This isn't available yet for all phones, but I believe it's available for iOS phones, so some Samsungs and Google Wallet devices as well. But we are going to be making it available for all types of phones very soon. But we thought this was really key for the construction sector, where learners could have the digital credential on their phone and they could show it when they turn up to site. You know, that's you know, a proven achievement and skill achieved by City and Guilds. Next slide, please. So EPA Pro, we've just recently launched a brand new EPA booking system called EPA Pro. All of our customers have now transitioned over to the new booking system. We listened to our customers, and what we wanted to do was make that whole EPA booking process much, much simpler and quicker, and that's essentially what the new system has done. So previously we operated on 3 different systems for our endpoint assessment. Everything now for endpoint assessment is in one system. It simplifies the workflow and the kind of back and forth in our process. We've introduced an EPA planning meeting, so the learner can have a planning meeting with their endpoint assessor prior to the event if they want to, but we're not making that mandatory. There's also more visibility for centres about where the booking is actually up to, which I think has been really, really key. The system also produces some fantastic reports, but for me, the main benefit of the new system is the speeding up of a lot of our SLAs around our EPA booking process. So that upfront booking notice period has been reduced drastically, and how many working days it takes to reduce results as well has also been reduced from 20 working days to 7 working days. So, you know, some real benefits of us invested in this system, and we've invested in it because we've listened to our customers and we wanted to make the process as simple as possible for them. Next slide, please, Jason. So on this slide, I just wanted to highlight really the work we've been doing recently with our training provider Geeson's and their employer Taylor Wimpey. So a lot of providers and colleges forget that we do actually support employers as well, and we can support their employers. So we can attend employer events, or we can speak to employers directly to help them to understand apprenticeships and endpoint assessment. So this is a really good case study. I think Jason's going to pop a little link of the case study now, which is now on the website. He's going to put that in the chat bar. So essentially, Janice Collins, our EPA Partnership Manager, has been working really closely to support Geeson's and Taylor Wimpey. And what she agreed to do is to speak to Taylor Wimpey, speak to all the staff that are going to be involved in the delivery of the apprenticeship programme there, but guide them through the endpoint assessment process, guide them through what the learners are going to be doing for endpoint assessment, how they can best prepare their learners for endpoint assessment. And like I say, there's been some great success stories there, and there's a really good case study now on the website, so please take a look at that. Next slide, please, Jason. And that's it for me. So I'm going to hand over to Jason now for Jason to talk about lessons from Lieber.
Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon, everybody. With regards, just before I move on, with regards to the links that Sarah was talking about, I'm having an issue with the chat function on Zoom, so I've sent them to a colleague who's going to try and put them into a chat function so that everyone can access them before the end of the presentation, and hopefully you'll be able to. So for the next part of the slide deck and the presentation, I'm going to take you through some bits and pieces with regards to lessons from Lieber, and that's just things for you to consider with regards to EPA, whether you have delivered many EPAs or whether you're kind of new to the delivery of EPAs. Hopefully you'll be able to take something from it and things that will hopefully make the process of planning, implementing and following an EPA process, hopefully that'll make it all a little bit more simpler for you and things to consider. Then, as Sarah mentioned before, I'm just going to sort of share just a few of the, the many successes we've had with regards to our EPAs. So as technical advisors, we stay close to our Liebers and IEPAs and other associates as well, EQAs, etc., moderators. And, we work very closely with these guys in making sure that we're able to support our centres as technical advisors, and the best way of doing that is ultimately sharing experiences and sharing information from Liebers and assessors with regards to the experiences they've had within your centres and within your employers when conducting EPAs. So what we've just put on there is a few bullet points, a dozen or so, just for you to consider, things that may be used as prompts, things that you maybe would not have thought about previously. It could be things as simple as lunch and refreshment preparation for learners, especially given conditions, etc. Availability of workshops where your EPAs are going to take place, especially in the climate where we're at following a COVID lockdown and the process we're in at the minute with everything around tag and adaptions and stuff. It's a very busy world out there in the minute of FE, especially in our workshops and classrooms. So, making sure that those are going to be available where required. And there's other things in there, things like storage for learners and for the assessor, a workspace for the assessor to base themselves from, whether it's in that practical area or nearby, so that, they may have documentation, maybe an electronic device that they need to store, just so that there's somewhere for them to work and work efficiently. Also things, you will find a lot of this as well in our resource packs and EPA centre guidance, things like having technicians available as and when required, really, and that's ultimately just to replenish materials, a tool may break, etc., and just to replace those type of bits of equipment, really. Then it's kind of looking at kind of the lead-in time, really. So we'll just put a couple of bullet points on there, a few prompts, 5 to 3 days before, some of the things you can start to do as you prepare for your EPA, making sure that everything's in line. Because ultimately, as Sarah said, working with our employers and providers, we just want to give the learners the best opportunity of successfully completing their EPAs, and this all helps with that as well. Other things for consideration as well is obviously a lot of workshops are in quite an open environment, and making sure that people who may also be operating in that area are aware that there is an assessment, a formal assessment taking place. And again, it's just to allow the learners to be able to focus on their tasks in hand and the work they've got to be completing on that day, or, following days, etc. And yes, just sort of, you know, when you're planning in EPAs, especially on consecutive days, just be mindful that sometimes the EPAs don't finish till maybe late on an afternoon. And if you happen to prepare an area ready for the next day, there may be a considerable amount of work and effort that needs to take place to get that work area ready again for an EPA to start to take place the very next day around about 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning. So just give them consideration for that when booking on consecutive days. And as Sarah already said, the Lieber reports that are available in EPA Pro are such a valuable tool, because that is straight from the horse's mouth, essentially, with regards to the experiences that the EPAs are having within the organisations, whether it's within colleges, training providers, employees, workspaces. And again, it just gives a little bit of insight into the experiences they're having that will hopefully help you guys prepare and deliver your EPAs accordingly. I was just about to say next slide, Jason. Forgetting I have control. So yeah, just looking at some of the success stories. I know we've already mentioned Taylor Wimpey, and that's just one of the many employees that we've supported recently and will continue to along the way with regards to our EPAs. And this is just a few of the successes we wanted to share with you. This is just one from Hull College Group, where learner Patrick Weaver had a very successful EPA and had a great experience. And again, there's a link on the slide deck there that will take you to the section of the website where this is located. And it just goes to show, you know, with our support and obviously the support of their employer and their provider, what these young people can achieve and how they can contribute to their employees and their employees' workforce moving forward as well. So just some great experiences to share, and the great motivational tools as well to share with the learners, you know, in what they can achieve, you know, with some real hard work. You know, everyone can be a success through this. Another one we have again is from a colleague from Leeds College of Building, another one of our, you know, our centres. And again, you know, the EPAs were made easy by having the facilities in-house and striking up a relationship with the independent point assessor. So going back to what Sarah mentioned earlier about those sort of pre-EPA meetings with the assessor, in setting up and getting ready, because, you know, for the learners, this is a very daunting experience to be, you know, holistically assessed in this format. It's very new to the learners, and, you know, them doing that in a familiar environment, such as their own college, etc., or their own workplace, is very important to the learners. You know, even things, travel time, etc., they know exactly where they need to be, what time they need to be there, how long it takes to get there, you know, where they can call on the way for their lunch and stuff if they need to. They know all that, you know, rather than having it in unfamiliar surroundings to them. So it's really important for us that that learners are put at ease like that. And again, our assessors are trained methodically in making sure that learners are put at ease, and that the learners and the college and employees get the best possible experience when doing EPAs with City and Guilds. So just to share some information with you and some of our details. So from City and Guilds, you always have your dedicated business manager, Sarah, for the Northwest, and her colleagues for other regions of the UK. But also you get access to technical advisors, but also you get access to EPA partnership managers. And the guys on the screen there, Rebecca, Janice and Morris, you know, they work methodically with centres and with employees, supporting them throughout the process from, you know, front to back, you know, whatever problems you may have, whatever issues or any support you may need, those guys can coordinate it for you, and they really are worth their weight in gold with regards to the support that they offer to our centres and to our employees, with our dedicated business managers as well. So just to highlight their contact details on the screen there for you. Just moving on, this is the construction team at City and Guilds. So we have my colleagues Paul Brown and Ian Roberts, who are also technical advisors, probably more familiar to a lot more people out there. Been with City and Guilds a number of years. And we each look after different sections of our construction portfolio. I joined City and Guilds just over a year ago, and, you know, been integrated into the team fantastically well by both my colleagues, who've been very supportive. And we're here basically, you know, at your service in essence, to support you guys with anything, whether it's EPA, whether it's VRQs, NVQs, T-levels, QW, you name it, and we'll try our best to support you with that. At the end of the screen there is Naz, who was speaking earlier. Naz is our industry manager, and we work very closely together as a construction team to make sure that the offer that we put out there is not just meeting what colleges would like, but also what industry requires and demands. And that's where Naz is integral in making sure that what we do is meeting the needs of industry and having that relationship with industry to make sure that our products are fit for purpose and not just having a product for industry, that it meets the needs. And that's where we engage with a lot of employers on validating pretty much every product that we put out there now. So now it's time to take questions. If there is any. Sorry, I'll jump back. I don't know if one of our technical supports will.
Any questions? Okay, so we've had no questions come through, so that's fine. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for listening today. This last slide really is just to remind you about the other workshops we've got going on at the AAC. So obviously today we are Future Paths for Construction. We've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 workshops to go. So please join us at those workshops if you're interested. And thank you for listening today, and take care. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Let it fall, let it fall, let it fall, let it fall.